Hi, I'm Lou Collett, author of Finding Zoe Through Her Art, a son's journey to get to know his late mother through the art she left behind. The Kathleen chapter is without a doubt my favorite chapter in the book. Not just for the amazing piece of art in the gold miner, and also the story behind the words in this chapter, but maybe for the story, my story, that I went through to write this chapter. Kathleen and I communicated through Facebook very slowly, on the order of 6-month intervals between responses. And I reached out to her and she came back with this lovely story of my mom going to visit her in the Appalachian Mountains and drawing this gold miner while sitting at a big cable spool on its side. And I just had this image in my head, this romantic version of how that week must have gone. What was going on in my mom's head and Kathleen's head, I didn't know, and I invented maybe part of the story that I wanted to hear that I thought happened, that maybe was good reading, good writing, I don't know. And I sent the final version of what was going to go into the book to Kathleen, and she came back with some corrections, you would say, about what I'd written. It wasn't her husband, it was just a friend, he wasn't abusive. There's a few things I'd gotten wrong when I wrote what I initially wrote. And she also had this great quote that she wrote in her response that was from Leonard Cohen. "Ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in." And she wrote it to describe the book, about Zoe, about a lot of the stories in the book. I read that and the rest of her reply with her corrections, and I realized it was okay to relive some of these. I struggled a lot writing this book. After I would write a chapter, I would just want to put a key on it and lock it up and done. It was always so hard to come back to a chapter after I wrote it. It takes so much out of me, and to think about not just editing, but to rewrite it like I got it wrong, or relive it, rethink it. It was always so hard for me. But I realized those cracks that let the light in. So I rewrote this chapter and sent it to her, and with her corrections in mind, and in doing so, I created one of maybe my favorite lines ends this chapter, and it goes, "Kathleen mentioned that the reflection in the gold pan was added only at the very end, after a long period of Zoe staring at the piece in silence. I can't help but think that Zoe felt she needed something more compelling to convince Kathleen to come back to Florida, to show Kathleen that there's no gold to be found in a bed of thorns." And I love that bed of thorns line, because until her reply, I had never seen the thorns that I see now in this picture, in the water where this gold miner is panning. And even further, I see some thorns in him, in his clothing, in the texture of his pants. And by opening ourselves up to understanding our own flaws and cracks, the light gets in, and you can create something that, for me, I just absolutely love. And again, my favorite chapter. So thank you, Kathleen, for sharing and for this chapter. And thank you for supporting this Kickstarter and joining me on this journey.